everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you can paint this gorgeous kitten at night in a garden, step by step, in acrylic on canvas. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He is helping me bring these lessons to you. Actually, this is part of a really cool painting challenge that happened in August this year. From August 1st to August 31st, I met every single day with my community for a new painting. We painted every single day together, and I do this once a year, usually in April, because I believe nothing makes people better at painting than painting every single day. Maybe you can do a whole painting. Maybe you can just do some of a painting. It doesn't really matter. It's that act of getting out there and being creative consistently that really helps one grow in your own art journey. This one is kind of the culmination of all 31 days. So it's on a bigger canvas and it's a little more in depth. And hopefully it's going to show you how all those skills came together, that you guys learned it. If you don't want to do the drawing, there is a traceable, and I'll be showing you how to use that. That's in the description below. The materials are in the description below, links to our website and our other information. Also, you can find our groups on Facebook, the Acrylic April group, or the Art Sherpa Official if you want to share your paintings from today's lesson there. Other than that, get your paint, get your brushes, and come back. We're going to paint this cutie patootie together. So in today's big class, we have a 12 by 12 inch canvas. Now you could continue to do 8 by 8 because they're the same aspect ratio, but we're sizing it up today, 12 by 12. On the palette, I have Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, Phthalo Green, Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Red Medium, Quinacridone Magenta, Ultramarine Blue, Dioxazine Purple, Titanium White. Right here I have Satin Glazing Liquid. And just to be sure for some fine lining later, I've got titanium white in fluid acrylic. A lot of you guys have been asking, could I do a deco acrylic instead of that? And yes, you can. That's another good soft-bodied acrylic paint that you could use for fine lining. All right, let's hop on into the first step, John. We got to paint this whole big canvas black. Got to paint the whole thing black, which is fun. I'm going to just squeeze black paint out from my tube right onto it. Nobody has to do this at all. I'm just being silly. I'm just making sure I have enough paint on the canvas that if I missed it and brush it out, I can paint the whole thing black. Now, sometimes it takes 2 coats of black to get it where you need it. Miss. This is just water. I'm just misting the canvas. And I'm going to brush all the paint out, paint the whole canvas just a solid color of black. Now, a lot of people ask when I do these, could I do a canvas that's pre-painted black? And you absolutely can. A lot of times the black gesso canvases go on a deep sale, and they use a very high quality gesso a lot of times. So sometimes they're a real steal. And I have a lot of paintings where we paint the canvas black, so you could definitely use them for a lot of projects. You can paint the sides of this canvas black as well, or you can just paint around the corners. We just want to make sure that the whole canvas is a nice, even coat of black. All right. Once it's all the way black, we're going to want to dry it thoroughly, and then when we come back, I'm going to show you what we do next. Now I'm going to take what I call a traceable, which is a printed out line drawing, and I'm going to take a transfer paper called Saral, S-A-R-A-L. I'm going to do it in white. I'm going to tape them at 4 locations on the paper, and I'm going to center this over slightly, just slightly left. Right. Learn my directions. And then I'm going to burnish my tape down as much as I can, because what I want is this traceable to be as still as possible. In fact, I'm going to take a little bit of my blue tape here, can kind of continue this on, because I want this to be very still as I do the next part. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over every line, pressing really hard with my pen here. I've got a Mikador pen. Takes a second. This is going to be a big one. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I like this one quite a bit.
Been kind of doing cats in my recovery as, I don't know, like a theme. Now I do the traceable a little bit inside the fur so that you have room to make your kitten fluffier. Like this little tail hang to make it fluffier when we're done, but we just want to know where it is, the curve of it.
Mm-hmm.
I love the forward facing paw. That's where I'm going to do one where there's toe beans at some point. Come across the little paw here. And down the chest. Pressing real hard. And if things have gone well, what should happen is that the lines, oh, wonderful, will be transferred
Oh, good.
to the canvas. Now, here's the thing. You can freehand this out with chalk if you want to, or you can do what I do, which is you can either freehand it digitally and print that out, or freehand it on paper and then create a transfer traceable from it too. So there's a lot of ways to do this, but the free traceable is available. If you check that description below, you just print that out and transfer this on the canvas. This is looking really good. All right, on to the next step. Step 3 is so perfect for me. I'm going to grab a 1-inch oval mop here, and I'm going to start the background. I'm going to get a little glazing liquid on here and grab a little of my ultramarine blue and a smidge of my purple. It kind of gives me like an indigo. And get the littlest bit of white. And we're going to come around here. Kind of very carefully around the cat and then loosely brush that. So it's kind of a little halo. Just a smidge of white so it's viewable. Kind of loosely brush that out. A little atmosphere. This is a lot like the recovery kitty that I did. It was an all-white study.
Oh, yeah, that was true.
That one was right when I got out of the hospital, and I was really struggling being able to paint. And I could only paint a little bit. I mean, like a little bit each day on it. I just could not do more before my brain just ran out of steam. So if you're going through something like that right now, I can relate. And I feel very fond of the kitties here.
Yeah.
To help me like get my painting groove back. Sometimes like just painting a topic that you like. Now I kind of lighten how I paint it out here so that it's sort of blended by brush stroke. Just a little bit of Doc's purple, ultramarine blue, and a smidge of white. Just come along those little lines and paint the outside edge. And this is nice too because it lets you start to paint the outer edge of this particular piece.
It really creates a cool glow.
Yeah, and it does. It creates a little glow around. Kitten paints. Glazing liquid. Little white. Little blue mist all through the garden. It's a really great night garden.
Yeah. This is one of my. I really was looking forward to seeing you paint this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been nervous about painting this one. But I'm feeling pretty good now. I'm into it. Again, we're just starting that first layer of Misty Mist. Kind of giving the canvas a richy, nice background, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah.
A little more than just black. That's doing pretty good. Now I might come through a little more blue. Smidge of purple. Get that indigo going. Glazing liquid and a little more white. Just kind of paint this a little brighter all around. Little curling, interlocking brush strokes. Sometimes I'm going down, sometimes I'm going up. I'm letting the glazing medium keep it very transparent. Lightly blending it off towards the black edges. If you lose the black, if you just end up with a blue blob, you can come back with black paint and paint it back in. So don't feel like you're stuck and you can't get it. A little purple, little ultramarine blue, little titanium white. One of the reasons that we build up the mist around our little guy here is because we want contrast between the black fur and the background.
Right. So you pop out.
So you can pop out. And there's a couple of things we do. We halo him. We do a couple of things. But this little blue cast is part of that. Now, once we have that all in, we're going to want to dry it thoroughly. Now I want to put some distant and deep in greenery. So I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna into my phthalo green and a smidge of my cad yellow, and I'm going to come up here and just paint in a beautiful little leaf that's super close to the background color. Super close to the background color. Just
That
enough
really is
yellow
close,
to
yeah.
barely pick it up. These are leaves in the shadow. Just building back. So on something like this where there's just so many layers that you build up, it's really fun to just build those deep into the forest layers. Sometimes we kind of rush through that. Let's come over here and I'm going to just sort of curl up maybe a little bit of a little branch. And I press and pull. Oh, I'm using a number 6 Raphael sepia round.
Oh, that's good to know. We'll need to know that stuff.
Yeah, gosh, I got so into the painting, guys, I forgot to announce the brush at the beginning of the step.
You can always find that information in the link in the descriptions down below.
Yeah, I do hide all the brushes that I use in the description down below so that you guys can get their names and sizes again. So I'm just painting some little distant, little deep into the forest greenery. Interestingly enough, I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and my Docks purple. A little more white. Making another little kind of in the background leaves. I wonder how everyone's going to enjoy doing this one. This is a big one. I like to finish the month off with something a little more challenging, something that's like all the skills that you learned over the month. Mm-hmm. Just pressing out little leaves. When I do these leaves, what I do is I just press down and then release. Press down and then release. A little bit of white into the blue and purple. And then I'm going to do a touch. These are little distant flowers that are maybe hidden in the background. So what we're doing is we're just making sure that these are maybe a shade lighter. Not much. We're just kind of planting some hidden gems. Painting a little bit of distance in the shadow flower.
Yeah. Just some background flower formations. This is that underlayer of
the painting. Right? It's very patterned. There's a lot of foot here. Just planting little shaded stalk flowers. They're just loose here in the garden. You know, and it's just crazy, like when you're trying to get it out there. All right, so I'm going to take just some green. Right, this is just green, and I'm going to get a little white into it and see it goes kind of mint. So we're just layering some of the slightly mint leaves in. And maybe come in here and fill out some distant, deep, grabbing some yellow.
Just those background leafies.
Maybe a little bit of burnt sienna. Smidge of cad yellow. Just pulling these in. They're just so close to the color of the background. Get a little more yellow on here. And a little tiny leaf. Little tiny leaves. Little bit of a curved stem going back that I'm applying. Just a little bit of tiny leaves. A little more yellow as we go in. Get some darker. Just kind of put those in, and then I'm going to come back into my blue leaves. This is just some work.
Right, you just gotta get some of that background in there so that you have something to build up on.
Yeah, it's not particularly hard. It's not like it's in and of itself 3 hoot.
Just a little time consuming.
It just takes a little more time. In that time, it's you don't think about it, but painting can be quite fatiguing. If you don't have the stamina for it, then you can really find yourself tired and tuckered out. Just layering out little leaves. And they're super close. Sometimes I'll tip the thing just to see that I'm getting. Oh, I'm loving it. It's subtle.
It's really cool though.
It's just, we just don't often take the time. Just doing some little curved over leaves. Just a little kitty in the garden at night. Little leaves over here. I'm just making smaller marks. Get into the green and a little bit of yellow. Smidge of white. A little bit of leaf. We're just filling it in. It's like a puzzle. You can rinse out. Get a little more blue into here. A little more white. Dots purple. Some of these deep color little leaves. Just filling up the base. Maybe a little bit smaller and just filling in the background. So sometimes when you're trying to paint details, right, you paint like the pattern, like there's this sort of textural pattern that we're doing, and then as we layer, it will feel very, very detailed. Just subtle. Some work, but worth it. Worth it. We know we're going to have just a ton of closer greenery and these little flowers that we paint, and by coming through here, we're just layering in.
Just the layering of the background. This is, it's just some of that work you got to put in so that you can have the reward later.
Well, and the act of painting it is kind of the reward, right? Like this is a bit of a meditative doodle, just filling in these little spots with these little leaves.
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay to add little ones and big ones. Get some glazing liquid. Some of the paint continues to flow nicely off my brush. You can do that with water, but glazing liquid is a great way of doing it as well. Now I'm going to have a lot of greenery kind of peeking around the paws and then most of it back here. So I'm going to be thinking about that. A little glazing liquid, a little blue, a little purple, a little blue, a little white. Just super fun. Just little leaves. What a full garden. Sometimes I'll reshape my leaf if it doesn't have a nice shape. And I've got so many that I'm going to be putting in there. Right?
Right, yeah.
And while I'm at it, I've still got some cad yellow, phthalo green, burnt sienna, kind of dark and put some of these little greeneries in there.
Just gotta get all those little backgrounds in.
What a background. Just getting a little of the greenery down through everything so that there's some of it like we'll bring in front here.
Right.
But we want to paint him in before we do. This is making me think that there's a kind of graphic floral that I could do.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
That would be super fun. Where it's more pattern based. I feel like we've gotten a huge amount in. Let's dry this. It's dried thoroughly, and we come back, I'll show you what you do next. All right, now I'm going to take what's called a Dritz chalk tool. You could use a chalk pencil, a pastel pencil, just chalk that you use on a chalkboard, and I'm kind of lay in a few of my more detailed flowers. So I'm going to give myself a nice little S curve here. And then I'm going to come here, kind of bow one there. I'm going to bring one here, curve it kind of inward. These I'll want to wait. This one I'll curve up. Bring that one down. A little bit there. A little bit here. All right, and so what I'm doing is I'm giving myself an idea of where I want to put these so that these middle ground flowers have great detail. So are you ready to do these babies?
I think so. Is this we're going to go on the same step, or is that step just drawing them in?
Same step.
Same step. Yeah.
Same step.
That makes sense.
All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of my quinacridone and my ultramarine blue together. And I'm going to get a kind of burgundy. I'm going to add a smidge of white.
Is it Ron Burgundy?
Is it Ron Burgundy? It's a burgundy something. And I'm going to come over here and paint a little spike flower, which is lots of little petals. And I'm going to want to add a good amount of white. Just want you to see how this is going to go, and then I'll remix all of it. A little bit of white on there to see, brighten it up. We'll keep brightening it up. Rinsey rinse. So the mix is a little bit of quinacridone, ultramarine blue. Makes kind of a nice Merlot. A little more magenta into it. Roll that out so that that's nice and rolled out, and I'm going to hit the tip of each of these flowers. Just hitting the tip of those. Okay. Just zippering these down. So these are little touches like the leaves. They just pull back towards you. The flower gets wider at the base as it comes down. And the petals get a little bigger as they come down. This is pretty dark, but it's a different hue than the background. So the hue helps us see it. And then when we come through and put the highlight in, that really helps us see it. Just touching in little leaves, weaving them back, zippering them in. Last one here. It's looking good. Looking good. Now, I'm going to want to dry everything before I put the highlight on there. So let's dry everything. When we come back, we're going to highlight our flowers and make them pop from the background. Okay, now we're going to add a lot more white to our pink mixture. Right, so it's got our quinacridone, a little ultramarine blue, and just a lot more white. Might add some glazing liquid in there so that it doesn't dry out on us and extends. That way I'm not having to mix the same color again and again. I'm going to come here and add a little highlight to the petals. I might turn my little canvas to the side here just a little bit to be able to see where I'm highlighting.
And it's okay to move the canvas and to do that so you have better angles and better posture.
Yeah, you want to move the canvas, not your body. All right, that's looking pretty darn good. Popping those in, those background flowers. The little touches where I just capture a little of the pink on the petals. And then we get just a little bit of color. Now I'm going to get a lot more white involved. Like a very light color. There we go, nice and light. So I'm going to come here on the inside of these. Can add a little bit of a white highlight. I'm going to roll my brush out and rinse it out because it's thick. And what that means is that the paint has gotten so into the filaments that it's widened my brush out and I've lost my sharp point. And the best way of doing this is having a sharp point. So I want to make sure that I've got what I need. My canvas line back up again.
Yeah.
And then add a little highlight through here. Just a little pop on the flowers so that they show. A little bit on that inside edge. Rinse that out. And then we're going to want to dry everything again before we put in the leaves. So now I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo green right here, and I'm going to grab some white. And I'm going to get a little bit of this mint color. Pretty shocking color. And I'm going to roll my brush out so as much pigment is out of it as possible. Rinse it. And come here and load up. And I'm going to add...
That was a bright one.
These brighter leaves.
They really pop.
They're going to really pop. These will layer right on top of the leaves we already have. So this isn't the lightest or warmest color that we're going to have. It's just our next thing. And we play with greens when we play with nighttime scenes. Greens are a great way to talk about night. Just a little bit of those green leaves to sort of fill in that next layer. Hey, I like how these are coming in, babe.
I like them. I like this whole sort of night garden look. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, I like the night garden feel.
I can't wait for the kitty to come in. This is sort of that anticipatory background.
I'm going to come here and kind of snake that little stem down this way. Smaller leaves. Bigger where you can put them, smaller where you can't. We're tucking in what we're doing.
Right. Yep.
Playing with S curves. These leaves will show more, so I'll think more about them. I'm adding a few little green leaves here and there. Just to kind of show the little layering. Okay, so then we're going to want to dry everything, and I'll show you what we do when we come back. So now I'm going to take a little while and work on some eyes for a bit, because I like to sometimes get into different elements of my characters and put their features in early so I feel excited about it. And I want to be excited about it. So the first thing that I'm going to interestingly do is I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to paint the inside of this eye in white. The reason is that I'm going to make such a light glowing colored eye that I want a very light surface to begin with. Not worth painting the whole again white, you know, starting from there, but it does kind of make things nice when I come in and go ahead and brighten the underpainting here. So this is one of those rare cases where whether you're using inexpensive paint or expensive paint, you got to paint it white first.
Right. Just to get that effect.
Mm-hmm. Make sure I've got a nice little kind of white outline. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my brown and black. Get some white involved. And I'm going to go around the eye with this gray. on the outside, the eye with that gray. Brushing that out so that I can blend that into the hair. Brushing that out so I can blend that into the hair. It's just a slightly gray. Brush that out. This will also let us have contrast where, you know, there's black in the eye and the black will show up.
Right.
Kind of blend that out. See how I can just push the brush out to kind of make kind of a hair look?
Yeah.
So even like, this is why I don't worry about things like everyone always having a filbert grainer every time. Because you can do a lot of brushes will do this look, just understanding how it goes. Well, this is having a think about what it's done. I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of my blue and black. I'm going to go ahead and paint in my nose a bit. Get a little white on my brush. Across the top of the nose. A little bit of white. And then a little bit of kind of in turn where the nostril would be. And go into my gray color. And just make sure that the area around the nostrils is a little bit lighter than the nose. Just kind of paint this here, brush that back. So even now I'm thinking about the directionality
To kind of
of the hair.
create the fur lay.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then a little bit down, just a fine line down the center. And that's what it takes to get the little nose in. Once the little nose is in, gonna take a little bit of our yellow and our green. And we'll go ahead and get a little burnt sienna into it so it's green gold. Now I'm gonna take just my yellow. There we go. It's quite a color. Paint in just the beginning of these bright yellow-green eyes. Right at the beginning, these yellow-green eyes. Rinse, rinse, rinse. And come over and thin some black paint. with water. So just a drop of water, bending the brush around. And I wipe the brush off so that it has not a lot of extra water on it. I'm going to come in on the inside of the eye. A little bit down here, around the eye, and a little bit at this corner. Oh, it's such a fussy bit of kit. Such a fussy bit of kit.
But it's that part that, you got to invest that time in the eyes to get them to do that.
Yeah. Well, you invest a little time in something like the eyes, and it can just propel your painting to the next level. Just taking some time. This is a number 0 Raphael Precision, so it's more than just a detail brush. It's that specific brush. I gotta start. You gotta catch me when I'm not remembering to tell them the brushes. You're busy.
You remind me to remind you, and then I think we'll get it.
Help me remember to get the brushes.
I'm going to try, but I'm definitely not the best rememberer of things.
Okay, now I'm going to come in here and very carefully put a little bit of a pupil right here. Oh, goodness. There we go. And then kind of put one right here. Same size, looking the same direction. We make them bigger, we do them a little bit with each other. Otherwise, we end up with cross eyes.
You make small changes to the eyes because little changes make big differences.
Little changes make big, big differences. So I made that one bigger. Now I'm going to match the right eye. I always work my left first if I can think of it, because that's my weak side, and then I do my dominant side, and that gives me more control. There we go. It's having a thought. Having a think. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow, a smidge of green. I might grab some white. I'll come underneath from the far side. I'm going to come underneath the eye. A little bit of that highlight. Pick a little of my outer color. Just make sure that the eyes are big enough. I get fussy here. But a little fuss goes a long way. I gotta tip this up towards me so I can see it accurately. Oh, I thought so. It's too wet. Sometimes too much water gets on your detail brush, and you've got to pick it up. Just one of those things. I don't want this to be wet. Just making sure that has a nice little. I'm going to go ahead and grab some just yellow. Come right underneath the eye with just yellow. No fussy, fussy. Come right underneath the eye with just yellow. Looks good, doesn't it?
Really does.
Then we're going to come in with just the hintiest hint. And I may actually early put out my fluid acrylic. So this is, if you weren't here at the beginning, this is the fluid acrylic titanium white. It is a soft-bodied paint. It allows me to do finer lines with higher levels of pigment. If you don't have that, an alternate I can suggest, if you don't want to get the golden artist colors, you can get Deco paint in titanium white. They actually make that, and it's also soft-bodied. I'm going to come here and just as fine as I can. Add a little water line to that, the cute little eyes. A little water line with the cute little eyes. Now, I want to make sure that they are dry. Yep. Make sure that they're dry. Dry, dry. Dry, dry, dry. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my Mars black together, which is the fur color. Make kind of a deep chocolatey brown. Using my glazing liquid, I'm going to come across the eye here. Glaze a little shadow. Check my little shadow. Got a clean brush. I'm going to make sure that that's just, it's shaded, but it's not too heavy. That's what I'm doing. Just making sure it's a little bit showing the green underneath. All right. Looking pretty good. Gonna go ahead and get a little white on my brush here. My fluid white. And I'm going to make a dot, 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 dot. That's how I get the kitten eyes, and it's a journey.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
But once they're in, they're just completely
there, yeah.
sweet and gorgeous. Again, if you're wondering what the brush was, that's the number 0 Raphael Precision. If you're looking for this brush, I do have it available for sale in my art store. And Raphael's like a 250-year-old company, so they're available globally. You've just got to check your local art store and see if they carry the Raphael line. And remember, like, your local art store will order stuff for you. So if you see me using a brush and you don't have it in your area and you can go find your local art store, a lot of times you can get them to order it for you. So something to check out. All right, let's dry everything thoroughly and come back. I'll show you what we do next. So I want to start doing some detailed haloing. I'm going to use a number 0 Raphael Precision brush in my glasses here. I'm going to be using a mix. Let's get some glazing liquid onto my brush so that the paint flows good. And it's going to be a bit of my burnt sienna and my Mars black and then titanium white. A lot of titanium white to be the halo. So I've gotten it a little bit dirty with my fur color, and I'm going to come through here and just add a few little fine hairs. Just a little bit I'm going to come back with my filbert grain or two, but I'm going through with my little detail brush just so that there's this perfect little haloing. Just coming along here, a little halo. Just brushing that out. See how we're creating that little backlighting halo?
I do.
Just brushing this out a little bit. I alternate directions, so there's just a little curve to the brush stroke. Just down this little side here. It's looking pretty good. And again, we're going to be coming through with our filbert grainer. But I'm just getting some in control right now. I'm going to turn this a little bit to the side. Just nice little curved, little haloing hairs. So this is very similar to the white cat that I did that everybody was so excited about.
Right.
Which I was super grateful. And then I'm going to turn this the other way. Just a little bit of these little hairs. Fussy, fussy, fussy.
That's what gives it that wonderful glow, though.
Yeah, this fussiness is worth the time. Check my tape. Place everything back where it goes. Rinse that out. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my 3/8 inch filbert grainer. So this is a filbert brush where the hairs are kind of trimmed, like clipped in, so that makes kind of lines together. You can make one of these by hand. I'm going to get a little bit of glazing liquid on my brush so that the paint is going to flow off nicely. You can do water or glazing liquid. We're going to just fluff out a few more little hairs. Uh-oh. I'm going to rinse that off. That's too thick.
A little too much there?
A little too much.
Oh, yeah, you can just lift it right up.
Yeah. Gotta take a paper towel or something, softer towel to dry it, but...
That was a little rough towel.
Well, that's been a long time paint towel, so... So it's had a roughness. I gotta just turn this to the side if I want it to look right.
That's not too bad. Yeah.
So just turn it to the side. Even this brush, even though it's made for this, I still have to be kind of delicate with it. There we go. Just a little bit. That looks super good. I like that. All right, let's call that a step. That was a whole big lot. Whole big lot.
You dry this one?
I'm going to dry this. When we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So when I start coming back and doing the great fluff on the tail, I'm going to get my fur color, which is my burnt sienna, my Mars black, and a little titanium white. I'm going to add a little white to it for some highlighting. I'm going to come here to the tip of the tail and just brush out. Kind of curving right, curving left, and on the center, a little bit of fur. Then as I'm coming through, get a little bit more darkness on it. Sometimes I get some glazing liquid involved. A little brown, a little black. We come here on the edges. Sort of highlight a little bit, some little backlit first. Just a little fluffer.
Get that super fluffer.
Maybe get into some black. Brush that in the center. Let me see if I like that. Yeah, I'm liking that. That's looking really good. Just very fluffy.
Very nice.
Very dark and fluffy. It was a dark and fluffy night. Just really blow out the tail. Lots of fur. Little S curve here that kind of flows along the little bend of the tail. Just a little bit of my white. This is my fluid white acrylic, so it's just flowing a little bit nicer off my brush. Just a little haloing there. And a little bit on the back side. Take a little bit of my black and brown. Brush this along the little kitten. Starting to create the little hairs. Just a little highlighting down that side. It's just wild how that goes in, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Maybe a little glazing liquid. We're going to be wanting to do some wet into wet work here. And keep in mind that while we're doing the little low hair, and I do go to the trouble of using this brush, just so that the hair brush strokes stay fur lined. It also will help me create the low shadows. Just adding a little bit of a highlight there. We'll go ahead and get a little blue. White. The shiny makes it hard on these dark canvases.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth between the two to be able to see the work that you're doing, because the glare makes some of the lines disappear.
I think actually I might
Dry it and then come back here.
Yeah, just so we can see it.
Sure.
Like, though I'm liking working wet into wet, so that's
it's okay. Keep going. I can see it. We're okay. We're moving back and forth between cameras.
I'm gonna get a little blue, little white. And brush the hair the direction it would grow. It's challenging to paint dark hair because you're just painting little highlights.
Right.
I'm going to come through with black on the center of my tail. Get some glazing liquid if I need to. Brush it out, patiently working it. This project is an exercise in patience.
So many layers.
So many layers to make it work. Just a few little reflections. Okay, let's dry this, and when we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So now I want to paint down the front of my palm. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and Mars black and a smidge of white. And I'm going to come down here and begin to brush the little highlight hairs. Them little highlight hairs. A little bit over the top. Now look, you don't got to do the best paw of your life down here, and the reason that you don't is because we're going to put flowers there, but I'm going to add a little reflection. Just kind of sitting there, and a few of these little highlights on the little hairs. A little bit of blue. A little more blue. A little gray. I'm going to brush a few little hairs back this way. Back into my brown and gray. Sometimes I paint really dark hairs that kind of only barely show to the eye, because it's those subtle little highlights in the deep shadow that really give form. A little more blue. Some of these little dark fur reflections are slightly blue cast because it's nighttime. I'm going to go ahead and get my black on my brush. Brush the black back down. See how it just makes it shiny? Just pushing that back because I really like my little reflection there. I don't want to lose my little paw reflection totally. Might shade it a bit. Just making sure that the hair is subtle. Because again, it's a kitten at night, right? So it's not going to be like the brightest kitten you've ever seen. I come here with a little bit of my white on my brush here, and then I'm going to come under my chin. Make a little reflection. That's all I'm going to use for that chin. A little bit of glazing liquid, just to improve the flow. Maybe a little bit of white. A kind of little triangle of reflection there. But again, that is going to be really, really buried under leaves. And so you'll only see hints of the reflection. I'm going to grab some just black. I'm still using my grainer, my 3/8" grainer. Come here with the little black fur. Get my brush a bit wet. Just black.
Just so comes together there.
Just brush this along here. A little bit of blue. Might come in with a round brush and try to piece out those little chest hairs. All right, I'm going to dry everything. When we come back, I'll show you what we do next. And I want to erase this little line here. Going to erase that a little bit.
Make that all easier for you to...
Yeah. Well, it's going to show the paw, and I need to be able to see where the paw is showing just from the reflection and not from
Sure.
the lines. All right, dry everything. When we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So now I'm going to switch to my number 6 Raphael sepia round. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see well, and I'm going to try to paint little flows of hair. And these are going to be in a blue-gray range, so I'm going to take a little bit of my blue over to my hair mix over here. And then I'm going to get a little white on here. I'm going to begin to
get some highlights in there.
Paint some little fur highlights. Brush just be fussy with it.
It's just that extra little time to make it all little pop out.
Just a little bit pop out. These are just the little hairs that are kind of caught in reflection. Maybe a little more light across here. Across there. Across there. Gives it a little bit of a highlight. A little bit along that leg, and so then that leg just barely appears. We're just painting all the fur today. We're just painting all the fur today. Just painting all the fur. Painting all the fur. Just a little bit. Just a few hairs here and there under the chin. And a little bit over here. Little blue and black. a little bit of dark hair here. All right. So now we're starting to see little collections of fur around
really
our little kitty.
They're all popping.
Popping. I'm going to make sure that my lower line is got a fur edge. I know I've got bushes going over it, but sometimes I just want to make sure.
That's okay.
Sometimes you just want to be sure and be sure. Now I'm going to want to dry everything. When we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So now I want to come up and work my ears a little bit. I'm going to take a bit of I'm going to make sure my brush is rinsed out thoroughly. I don't want any black in it. I will be bringing brown over to it. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow. More cad red than anything. I'm going to take a smidge of my burnt sienna. And then I'm going to get white involved. I should get like a nice peach. I'll brush this in. Just a little bit of that. Get a little yellow.
Yeah.
Just starting to think about how the ear has got a bit of glow to it. I'm going to get into my fur color. I don't want it to be wet though. Don't need my brush to be juicy. It's not dry brushing, but it's not. To just very carefully little brown and black. Just a little bit into the glow of the ears. I'll want to kind of turn this so I can both see it and so that it's got a nice curve for me. Just want to make sure that I've got nice little lines there.
Oh man, that's really come together.
Yeah, it's starting to think about what it's done. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my white into my brown and black. Brown and black. Come along here. And just some little reflection coming down. Well, that's a bit of an eyebrow.
Yeah, that does it.
Brings
him in.
Brings in some eyebrows.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to switch to my filbert grainer. Get some of my black. Make sure I come along here and blend that in. I'm just coming back in because I don't want them to be eyebrows. Get some burnt sienna. Just subtle, subtle, subtle.
So cool.
Little darkness right here. Come in again. I'm just using the sides of the little brush and I just sort of blend it in. Little brown. Little glazing liquid. Kind of blend this out this way too. Now I like to counterpose, like at the cheek.
Looking pretty incredible there.
He's looking all right. Now we're going to take a little bit of our black. A little bit of our black. There we go. Just black to the black kitten.
Yep. Just get a couple little more layers in there.
Yeah, you just got a little bit right here. And then a little bit at the corner of the eye and out. And a little short hairs here. Still using my 3/8 inch. I'm in my brown and my black. I'm going to turn this here very carefully. Make sure that those little nostrils, and then I'm going to come in and get some just black. And kind of like as carefully as I can, I'm going to be underneath here. Kind of shading. And then I'm going to come under here as carefully as I can along that little lip line. shade a little bit. Let's see how we're looking. Just gonna take that chalk out a little bit. Underneath here. Maybe a little more. Kind of tap a little hairline there. Can you see that with just the slight gray?
Oh, yeah.
Just a hint, hint, hint. I want a hint, hint, hint. I don't want a big, big mark. I want a little mark. Tiny touch. I sometimes have to turn things so I can see it. And I'm going to turn it upside down just so I can get a good...
Sure.
See how we're getting that lightest little touch mark. It's just a touch. It's not looking bad.
Not at all.
Now I'm going to want to take a little of my black. I'm going to kind of glaze it over this a bit. Just pushing that underneath. See how that just takes it back down?
Yeah.
So it's there, but it's just a little hint of there. A hint of it.
Hint of kitten.
Hint of it. And then I'm going to get a little of my glazing liquid. Not my glazing liquid, my fluid. Haven't rinsed my brush. Going to hit some little highlights along that ear. That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
No.
I think what we still have is we have a little bit of eyebrow going that I've got to correct for. It's an interesting thing. So I'm going to take a little bit of my black. Better. A little less eyebrow. So sometimes you'll work something and you'll be like, that is too eyebrow. And then what you do is you just go, well, but it doesn't have to be. I can just change my mind. And then I can come back into my white. There we go. Phew, that was delicate touch. I'm going to curve a little delicate touch here. Just a little delicate touch.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now to do the next part, I got to have everything be dry. So I want to add some little details. I'm going to rinse this out, and we're going to start just adjusting what we see. Right, that's the big thing, is we're going to adjust what we see. I'm going to grab a little bit of my light brown gray, which is my burnt sienna, my Mars black.
And this is that final step where you just sort of tune everything in.
Well, on the cat, yeah, we're going to start tuning some stuff in on the kitty. I'm going to come here and kind of apply maybe a little reflection there. Then I'm going to want to get some just black. And then turn this. I'm just making sure there's a shadow under the nose. Now I've got to put my nose back a little bit. I'm going to put my white onto my little blue black. And come here where I accidentally painted out my nostril. There we go, a little bit of nose. Let's get a little fluid acrylic on here in the white. Just a little bit tapered down there.
That really brought that out, yeah.
I just keep looking at it and then making adjustments to what I like. I'm going to come here and kind of maybe work on this for a little bit too. Now, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to use a chalk pencil. Actually, let's dry it. When we come back, I'll show you how to use the chalk pencil to plan in your whiskers. So let's dry everything, and then we'll come back and add some whiskers. So now I'm going to take a credit color chalk pencil, and I'm going to very carefully sketch some whiskers.
It's much better to sketch your whiskers in with chalk first, huh?
Yeah, because then you're not trying to figure out your lines with paint. Just a little bit there, and then I want to sketch the other side. Same sort of. All right. So hopefully, and sometimes you can even just leave it with just the chalk. If you spray varnish, you can actually do your whiskers with chalk or a pencil or something. But we're not spray varnishing, so we have to figure out how to do it with the paint. I'm going to take my number 0 precision again. I'm going to put out some fresh fluid paint. And the reason I'm going to put out fresh fluid is so that it's the slickest it's going to be, wettest it's going to be. We'll have the least drag. And I'm going to get just a smidge on there. And I will go ahead and turn my canvas very gently. Holding my breath if I need to. Sketching out some whiskers. Just sketching some whiskers in. It's a pain. Fine lines as you can get. take a look at that. As some nice whiskers.
Yeah,
so I'm going to want to dry it and then come back and do the other side. And that's so that I can really rest and steady my hand while I do the whiskers.
Right.
And I don't drag the white whiskers I just painted. So I'm going to dry this real quick and we'll come back and hit the other half of the cat's face. Okay, so I've dried and I've rinsed and dried my brush out, and I'm going to reload with just the tip into the paint. And I'm going to turn my canvas so that I have the easiest time making the line. If you get off your chalk line, all you have to do is wait for the chalk paint to dry, and then you can just, and the acrylic paint to dry, and then you can just go ahead and wipe off the extra chalk line.
Right, the chalk will just wipe right off.
I like to give them just really big whiskers. The reason being is that this particular type of cat, I actually have Maine Coons. They have like this incredible whisker face. And so much of the cat's personality is in the whisker face. There you go. Whisker face.
Wow, that guy turned out great.
He's super cute. Now, to do the next part, we want him to be dry completely. We don't want to smear our whiskers, so we're going to dry them again, and then we'll go on to the next step. And when we come back, I'll tell you what we do next.
Okay.
So now I'm going to want to come in and put some flowers up front, right, that layer into the cat. And I'm going to do what I did before, which is I'm going to sort of draw in some of the lines of them. So like I'm going to have a flower come right there. Another come right here. Another S curving right here. Then we'll have like lots of low grass. I don't want to take out too much of my paws that I worked so hard on.
Yeah, those are really nice paws.
Maybe a little counter curve one. Just get those off there. Then I'm going to take my round, number 6 sepia round, and I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of my pink and my white together. Glazing liquid if I need it. Pretty bright pink this time. I'm going to just very carefully tap down a little flower. Just like we did these in the first place. They get bigger as they go down. And we're going to be adding, you know, highlights to them. Nice little flow. And that's what we're looking for, is we're like, is the balance nice? Just pulling the flowers up front. They come in very similar to how we put the first ones in. So you've already kind of done this. You know what it is. These have brighter pink. They're further up the canvas. That's why we're letting them be brighter pink. Now I'm going to rinse. And I'm going to come over and I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna over to my phthalo green. And then I'm going to come over to my yellow and mix a nice bright green gold. And come into the stem a little bit. A little bit of green gold. I'm going to press and pull little leaves out like we did before. Look at those. They just pop forward, don't they?
Yeah, they really do.
There we go. A little glazing liquid just to improve. Look at those just come in. Take this green over to the gold, over into my yellow. Just using the brush to make the brush stroke it's great at. Adding a little green here and there. It's just filling up the garden. That's what we're doing. We're just going to fill up the garden. Take a little bit of my green over to my gold mixture. Just a little bit of greenery. All right, let's call that a step. When we come back, I'm going to show you what we do next. Now I have an area over here I feel is empty, so I'm going to take a little bit of my quinacridone and my titanium white, and I'm going to plant just another little, this one's going to kind of come around this way and a bend. Just want that little balancing. Sometimes you'll look at something and the hole is just too great. Now I'm going to take a lot of my white over to my pink and make a very, very light color. Not my lightest color, but a very light color. I'm going to start to pick out some of the petals from the background.
Right.
This isn't our lightest color. This is our middle color. But you can see it's already starting to pop our flowers a little bit. I leave some of the dark because I like the contrast. Just painting them down.
Adding those little highlights there.
And then I'll come over finally to this one, which is just now dried. Look at that go. Now I'm going to want to take a lot of my white, make a very, very light pink. Very nice light pink. I'm going to rinse it out because I don't want it so thick on my brush. And I'm going to come over here and test how light the pink is. I think I'll come over on this side. Just a little bit at the top. Maybe a little bit on the inside. A little bit on that right side. And then this one will be a little bit on the top here. There we go. A little bit of flower that way. Just a little bit on that inside. Let's have a look at that. That is looking really charming.
That's amazing.
Okay, try everything and I'll show you some things we're going to do when you come back. So you want to take a minute and look around your kitty, see if there's anything that is standing out or anything that you want to add in, if you like the balancing of the leaves and everything. If everything is okay, then you're going to want to pick a color that's sort of in the painting but different than the painting. I'm going to take my white fluid acrylic over to my yellow green and make a very bright yellow green. And I'm come here in the corner and sign. One good way to tell how your painting is doing is to stand up and, hang it on the wall and stand up and get away from it.
Yeah.
If you don't have that as an option, another thing you can do is take a picture of it with your phone and look at it.
That's what we've got to do while we're...
Well, that will let you see the painting clearly. So if there's anything that's bugging you and you're not sure what it is, sometimes just taking a picture with your phone and taking a look at it will let you know what it is that's, standing out. Oh my goodness, I think this is a lot of fun. So we did it. We did 31 days of daily painting. I know I hit you with a big one at the end, but it's kind of nice to know how those skills and those ideas come together to make something more substantial. So we kind of sized up the canvas and we gave some more complicated subject matter to ourselves, which I think is really great. This month has been everything. It has not just been your journey, but it has been part of my recovery from what happened to me in the beginning of the year. And if you weren't aware, I had a health issue that came up and I wasn't able to paint for a period of time, which was super scary and frustrating. And so I did for myself painting it a little bit every day, which was this white kitten in this moon field. And I painted a little bit on it every single day. And maybe I could only paint 20 minutes. I couldn't do hours on end, but I'd paint for a little bit and paint for a little bit and paint for a little bit. And then eventually over time, I was able to add in a daily painting into my life. And then through that daily painting, kind of able to get back to where I was before. So this hasn't just been your journey. This has also been my journey. Of just trying to find my way back into my paintings and everything. So hopefully you've enjoyed taking this journey with me. What's coming up is going to be more great courses. I'm probably going to focus on a beginner course. I was going to do one earlier in the year, but everything kind of toppled that. So I think I'm going to come back around.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And reboot the beginner course, which I think some of you guys might really like. So if this was a hard month, that might be something that you guys could do to make that kind of work easier.
Yeah.
Be sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you thought this was really cool, something that you could do if you want to support us is check us out on Patreon or over on our website. You can either patron us through YouTube, our website, or Patreon, just whatever works best for you. We have the 3 different ways because they have 3 different billing and you guys have, that way you just have the most choices in supporting us. But if you'd like to come support us, I'm going to be getting back to my Zoom classes and all my patron classes now that I'm through this on the other side. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So if you'd like to take part in that, that's something to check out. If any of the materials, including this 12 by 12 canvas, are available in my store, so you can check that out as another thing to do. And other than that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave me a comment on this painting and let me know what the 31 days meant to you. And other than that, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and I will see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.